This video is about masking using text. So there's a couple of things that you can do with masking, and I'll take you through them now. I brought in this image into Animate. So the first thing you need to decide is what size will your final stage be. I'm just going to match the stage. You can see the actual stage behind. I'm going to match it to the size of this image. If it's for a web banner, then of course you set up the stage for the size of the web banner, and then you can bring in an image and adjust with the distort tool. Okay, so this tool up here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the stage area, and I'm going to ask it to match the contents, and that will give me a high quality, high resolution animation. The next thing I need to do is add the text. Be very careful. If I just simply type now, it's going to go into the same layer, which is not what we want. So I'm going to click on the type tool. Choose a really good font. You want a fat font or something that is going to be useful as a mask with an image. It's no good having a really skinny font because you won't really see very much of the image through the mask. So I need to add an additional layer, and this is going to be my type layer. So be very careful, because the minute I click back on the screen, I'm going to jump back into the picture layer. I'm going to name this picture image. Make sure you lock that layer so that you're only working in the type layer now. So now I'm going to take my type tool and I can either choose the font size as I go along, or I can use the distort tool, holding shift. That's okay because this is a vector graphic, so we can scale it. And then all I need to do is go back to the type layer in the timeline, right click and mask. That looks great, doesn't it? Unfortunately, when you export it, so I'm going to just test it now, it doesn't export the mask. Now the reason for that is because the text itself, so I'm just going to go backwards, text itself is all linked together at the moment, and you have to break that up. You have to break it up not once but twice. So with the text selected, I'm going to say modify break apart. That breaks it up into individual vector graphics, and now we're going to turn it into individual objects. So I'm going to also do it again, break apart. So now it's no longer vector graphics. Okay, and each one of these is going to work as a mask. So now I can go back to right clicking on the type tool and asking it to mask the layer underneath. Now when I test it, I can see the mask. At the moment we have a static mask. It's not actually doing anything. We can add animation to the mask in the normal ways, and we can also animate through the mask. Now you can do that, both of them, on the timeline, or you could create fresh symbols. So we could create a symbol and do all of this technique within a symbol itself for use later on. I'm just going to do it on the timeline. So the first type of movement that you might want to do is just simply to actually move the mask around. Okay, and that's just very, very easy. The problem is when I unlock the mask to be able to do anything with it, then what happens is it stops us seeing the actual mask working. You have to just live with that. What I'm going to do is move the mask around the image. So I'm going to ask the mask itself to have movement. So I'm going to put on a motion tweak to convert it to a symbol as normal. And then of course I need to copy the picture along the timeline as well. So I'm just going to insert a keyframe to extend that timeline. In order to see the mask, you have to put the locking devices back on again. And if I wanted to see how where the mask is going to go on the picture, I have the locking devices switched off. So I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to put a keyframe at the end, and we'll just move the masks into 2 different positions. So I'm going to start. Let's start down here, and actually we'll shrink it down a little bit. And then on the last keyframe, we'll just have it very big. You could even distort it if you want, that's quite nice as well. So now I've got this kind of action happening. I'm going to switch the masks back on and then get a preview, and you can see the mask moving on top of the picture. Of course, if I want it to stop, then what I need to do is extend the timeline. So let's give it another second by adding a keyframe. Keyframes will always copy what is on the previous keyframe. So that's quite nice. I want to show you another technique. So this is exactly the same. To start with, I've got a picture layer underneath which I've locked, and I've got my type, and of course I'm going to break apart my type, not once but twice. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to the picture underneath. So I've unlocked the picture, and I'm going to put on a motion tween onto the picture itself. So I'm going to extend that a little bit, and we will create the mask. So I'm going to right click on the type layer, create mask, and I'm also going to add in a keyframe to extend the mask. So the mask exists the whole way through. And then what I'm going to do is just turn it off for a moment and unlock the picture layer and decide what I'm going to do. And what I actually want to do is to have the picture maybe start off very, very small and reveal the word. So we'll try that first. I'm just going to add in a keyframe and extend the picture. And then I'll just show you what that looks like. So I have the picture zooming in through the text itself. And you can get really creative with that, because what you can do also is have it twist and turn. So you could come flying in as if you're a kind of drone. And let's just zoom in a little bit more. Just extend this a little bit. When extending, you need to click on it to grab it and then pull it. I'm not very patient. I'm going to just zoom out, and I'm going to just do this even more. Let's really turn it so we get that real sort of flying feeling. And of course I could orientate it different ways. Let's move that keyframe, and then I'm just going to add another keyframe here and just keep extending it. But this time I'll swing back. So let's see what that looks like. So you can get very creative with it. You can orientate as if we're flying a plane through the valley, or a drone. And finally, you can actually have movement on both the layers as well. So I could put in a motion tween. Everything, of course, always needs to be converted to a symbol. Sometimes you'll find when you're animating it'll skip a keyframe. Just add the motion tween on as well. And what I want to do to this now is maybe have down here the starting point. We'll move it down to the bottom, and then we'll move it up. And it could also get bigger, it can turn, it can do all the things that you normally do, so long as there's a motion tween, and then that's going to look like this. So you can add motion to both mask and image.